Hello and welcome back to Paddock and Track, the show where we bring you news on and off the track. I'm Max and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host Amaan.
What is up, guys?
And today we are finally back with the first race of the 2025 season, and it was a good way to start out.
Yes, I think so too. I mean, not every car finishing the race.
This is very true, but sometimes that's the most exciting races. So when we get to the starting grid, we see Norris and Piastri P1 and 2 respectively. Obviously, this is pretty much an ideal start for McLaren. They are ahead of Verstappen in P3. They seem to be very clearly fast, and they have their two cars on the front row.
I mean, yeah, but we have to expect this from McLaren because they are trying to capitalize on their newfound success that they had from last season. Mm-hmm. Faster car, drivers are growing, and I think this is the year where they're trying to get either Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri to that world championship position where they can actually become the world champion over Max Verstappen. But obviously, it will be a tough task. As we see, Verstappen right now is in P3, so he will keep going, leaving off from last season as well.
Definitely. We also see George Russell in fourth place, so not the best, but obviously not terrible considering how the Mercedes has performed in the past. We've seen in last season, there was times, especially at the beginning of the season, where the car was not very good. And so to see them up there, yes, they are still behind both the McLarens and the functioning Red Bull in Max Verstappen. So that's still a good start for him. And then the real surprise is Yuki Tsunoda and Alex Albon. Yuki Tsunoda in fifth place and Albon in sixth place. Obviously, a very, very good start for the two of them. Tsunoda's very high up the order there. And so, of course, two is Albon. But Tsunoda's one that I feel like we see less. We've seen some like really bright spots with Albon, especially during his time with Red Bull. Though it wasn't very good, he had a couple good moments, but seeing Tsunoda all the way up there in fifth is very impressive.
I mean, it's really good for Tsunoda too, but it's also might be obviously it's too soon to tell. We have to see for future races, but that V carb seems to be faster than it was.
It does. I mean, even when you look, Isaac Hadjar in his first Grand Prix qualified in 11th.
Yes, that's pretty good.
So, again, very good from him. He's one of the 6 rookies this season, and
6 rookies.
That's counting Lawson as a rookie
and Behrman too.
And Behrman. So, Lawson especially sort of like half counts in my opinion.
Yeah.
Behrman more so because he raced, 3 races, I want to say?
Yeah, something like that.
And whereas, Lawson raced for almost half a season. It was less, probably more like a third of the season, but still. Yeah. But a very impressive performance from Isaac Hadjar, who made it up all the way into 11th. We also see Leclerc ahead of Hamilton, so those two are newly teammates on Ferrari. Leclerc in 7th and Hamilton in 8th.
Not ideal for
especially
Ferrari.
Considering they're behind a Williams and a V-Carb car. Or sorry, they are now Racing Bulls. I forgot about that. They are technically now Racing Bulls.
Yeah, that is very tough to see. I mean, because we have all these high expectations for Ferrari. They brought in 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, of course. And Ferrari, very good last season.
Yep.
They finished second in the constructors.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a really good car. Obviously, 2 driver pairings. Obviously, Carlos Sainz moved to Williams. But they brought in 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. And we said it a lot before. All eyes are on them. All eyes are on Hamilton to see if he can bring maybe an 8th world championship to himself.
Yeah.
And maybe even help Ferrari win the constructors title this year as well.
Definitely. We also see, speaking of Carlos Sainz in 10th place. So he did still make it into Q3 in his first race with Williams. But obviously 10th place is not the best start, but that's still points.
Yeah, finish. But that's both Williams in Q3. That's really impressive. Good. And that maybe is a testament to their car. Their car probably improved as well.
And Pierre Gasly in 9th place. So a very different start to the season for Alpine than they had last season. Of course, Doohan is in 14th, so decently further down the order, but still into Q2. But when you take a look at last season compared to this season, this is definitely a good trend for them. We've seen Pierre Gasly. He did pretty good towards the end of the season last season. And then, so Gasly all the way up in 9th place, and then Doohan up into 14th.
Yeah.
And then looking down a little further, we see Alonso and Stroll in 12th and 13th, kind of standard for them compared to last season. Bortoleto in his first race for stake, qualifying ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, just barely squeaking into Q2. In 15th place, Hulkenberg behind him in 17th place.
Yep.
And then Kimi Antonelli, another rookie, 16th place for Mercedes, so not even into Q2. Obviously, it's not the best look for him.
But, yeah, I mean, he's a rookie at the end of the day.
This
We
is
still
true.
have 6 of those on the grid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can cut him some slack in the first race.
Yeah. And then Lawson qualified 18th, made a late move to start from the pit lane. Ocon 19th, Behrman also from the pit lane. So Haas is not looking too hot.
Yeah, I mean.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
And then also the fact that Lawson qualified in 18th place. The man who was kind of strangely placed into that Red Bull car after, again, about a third of a season in Formula One. 18th place. And considering when you look at this, you see Yuki Tsunoda in the V car in 5th place, yeah. And then you see Liam Lawson 18th place, technically pit lane, but 18th in the Red Bull.
Yeah, it's not a great look, especially since that they picked Lawson over Tsunoda, who's been part of the Red Bull family for a very long time, and he's been doing pretty well for himself in AlphaTauri and VCarb, obviously. So, yeah.
I don't know. Getting into the race start, then it was wet, but it wasn't really like wet. It seemed more like slippery than wet. Like it wasn't actively raining, but the track was very slippery.
Yeah, the announcers were like, it was greasy. The track was really greasy,
which I felt like was a weird adjective.
Yes,
but okay. So everybody was basically on intermediates, and but I felt so bad for Hadjar.
Yeah, he just
crashed immediately.
Yeah, he full throttled it, tried to warm up his tires, and then he just spun out and crashed into the wall.
Yeah, it's hard to, because in Formula 1, of course, you have all the hybrid energy systems, and coming from F2, like Hadjar did, they don't have any kind of that stuff in F2, so it's a very big jump, and, he's been in the car. It's not like he hasn't been in the car, in practice sessions and qualifying, but still it's a shame, especially it's difficult in the rain. There's no traction control, there's no ABS. You're all on your own. So
I mean, the rain in general is just testing the rookies, and we'll get more into that later. They really did test the rookies.
Yeah, but it's a shame for Isaac Hadjar to be already out on the first lap, or not even the first lap, on the formation lap. And this caused an aborted start, which I suppose didn't really matter in the long term, but it
just
does
delay the race start.
Yeah. But it does provide also the rookies, especially with a lot more anxiety because, now you're just like prolonging the time it takes to get to that race start, which is probably one of the more nerve-wracking parts of the race. So that, it's like icing the kicker. just keep waiting.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I noticed before we get into the actual racing, the supposedly McLaren drivers are free to race. Now, we've seen in seasons past some questionable moves from McLaren and when it comes to their drivers. It seemed like towards the end of the season they were more free to race, but there was times, especially in the middle, looking at races like Hungary and to a lesser extent in Brazil, where it seemed like they were not entirely free to race.
Well, yes, I agree with that, but I think those were also the critical points in the championship where Norris could still catch Verstappen.
Yeah.
So I think they were free to race when Verstappen was actually crowned, because you said a little bit in Brazil, obviously, because that was when Verstappen was crowned in Brazil,
he had
right?
clinched in Las Vegas.
Oh, because that was after. So, it was already getting out of reach so that they were free to race afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. And then this season, obviously, fresh slate, everyone has 0 points. So there's obviously they would be like, oh, yeah, you're free to race and let's see what happens. So I think that's probably the reason why.
We'll see. My question is then, if that is the case, is then what happens when they get closer if Norris is looking good for the championship standings?
Yeah.
What will happen at that point? Because, you of course, McLaren wants Norris to win the championship. They want either one of them to win the championship because it's obviously a big achievement. It's just a question of, who is going to be there. Likely, it's going to be Norris, let's be honest. And then we love Piastri, but it's just when you look at the performances that they usually have, it's probably going to be Norris.
I mean, also, Piastri's in year 3, so, it's fine.
Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see as we get further into the season if this free-to-race type of thing continues. Hopefully it does, because it makes for better racing action, I think.
Yeah.
So now getting into the actual race, Verstappen seemed quick off the line. Now he usually is pretty good in the wet, but he was quickly past Piastri, but not past Norris. So it seems like
Norris did improve on his starts.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is that, we saw a lot of times last season where Norris was really struggling on his starts, and he seems to be doing better. Again, of course, a rain start is always even more tricky.
Yeah.
And so it was a good start from Norris and a very good start from Max Verstappen to get past Oscar Piastri right ahead.
Yeah, and then we see another rookie, Jack Doohan, crashed on lap 1 while accelerating. So it looks like the same thing that happened to him that it did to Hadjar, where he just accelerated and he just spun out and crashed.
Yeah.
So yes, the track again very, very slippery, and this is also not a great look on Jack Doohan already because he has the most he's rookie. Him as a rookie, he has the most pressure because he has Franco Colapinto as the reserve, and his contract is only 5 races too, which is pretty,
It's kind of sad.
it's kind of sad for him.
Yeah, it's hard because Doohan is, as far as we know at least, is only really contracted for those 5 or so races, which obviously is not a great thing when you're trying to figure it out, and it's like now you have this added pressure of Franco Colapinto kind of bearing down on you. I think it's I don't know that this one is hard to say. This crash is just weird. I suppose at the end of the day it is Doohan's fault, but on the other hand it feels again similar to Hadjar, like they're just not experienced in these cars. They're not experienced in the wet.
I mean, this is only Doohan's second race?
Yeah, because he raced in Abu Dhabi in the season finale last year. So yeah, it's still tricky, of course, to race in the rain. It always is. And then you have the added, the new hybrid system, and it's not new for the other drivers, but for the drivers coming from F2, it definitely is new, and so, it's always tricky for them.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him.
And then we also see a not rookie, Carlos Sainz, very similar thing, although supposedly his situation may have been different. Sainz said he had a torque surge, which could happen based on whatever their engine settings are and how the MGU, their energy system is giving them the energy. But, that is definitely weird, especially in the wet. You don't want to have all of a sudden a lot of torque because that's kind of what makes you spin. And then he did spin, and he was unfortunately out because he did hit the wall. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, like there was a lot of these kind of incidents where you just saw drivers like spin, and it was kind of random.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him as well. So then we see Hamilton say that the car is snappy in a bad way. So he said that
he was on the radio and he was essentially complaining about the car. I think that his problem was that it was too snappy.
Yeah. So there's certain points on the track too that he was pretty slow at. So turn 11 and 12 specifically was the points where they said that he was actually slower on, and that's where he said the car was snappy.
Yeah. Well, and those. It's hard to say exactly if that's a problem with him or sometimes they can always adjust different settings, differential settings, big bias settings, but it's interesting to see though too, if nothing else, that like drivers have such different styles.
Yeah.
They always talk about Max Verstappen, how he wants a very snappy car. Like specifically he wants it to be like very sharp and like snappy.
Yeah.
And Hamilton, it seems like, wants a more smooth car. And if that's not what he's getting, it's kind of silly because it's like you should be able to adapt.
Yeah, especially since what type of pedigree you have.
Yeah, right. Too. And he's Lewis Hamilton. Like, come on, at the end of the day, if you're this good, and I get that when you are this good, that subtle changes really matter. But at the same time, when you are this good, then you should be able to deal with these small changes and be able to adapt to those.
Well, yeah, also, but he's also been in Mercedes for so long, too, that they tailor the car to him.
This is true.
So, yes, new team, so the car is going to be obviously different. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt this first race, only because of that. But he needs to adjust, though, later on in the season.
Yeah. We also saw another rookie again, Kimi Antonelli. He spun, but he actually was able to catch it.
But he caught it, but it was at the part of the track where it's easy to catch it.
If you're gonna spin it, he picked the best corner to do it because there was about a ton of runoff space.
Yeah.
But still, it was good for him because he was able to really turn that race around. And he finished very high.
He did.
We'll get to that, but he really ran a good race, I think.
I think so. I think he did the best job among the rookies.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to consider he probably besides Lawson, probably has the best car. But still,
Yeah.
I mean, he did a very good job.
But like, look at Lawson.
Yeah, this
So
is very true.
yeah.
And so we also saw. I thought this was just funny. Leclerc had like a really like funny radio.
All right.
His engineer was just like it was just goofy.
Yeah, so he basically had water in his car. I think it's probably from the rain, or it could have been from his drinking system too. But apparently, there's just a lot of water in the car, and he was telling his engineer, right? You know, his engineer replied with, "It may be the water."
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Oh, I was shocked.
I was shocked
so
that it was the
surprised.
water. But
Yeah, it was just so funny because I feel like his engineer was just dead serious. And then,
No, I think I know what he meant. He probably meant the drinking system.
Probably, but
it was kind of funny though.
Yeah. So that was a funny moment. We also saw less funny moment for Verstappen at least. He went like very slightly wide towards the end of the track, and then Piastri was able to go right on through. That was great for Piastri because he was kind of stuck behind Verstappen for a while. Eventually, more things happened to Piastri, which we'll get to in a moment here. But that was great for Piastri. He was able to get in front of Verstappen, and he was able to hang on to that for a while, that second place.
Yeah, and then later on, we see Hamilton also annoyed at his engineer too.
So Ferrari having problems with their engineer.
Yeah, so basically they're like telling him a lot of things, and Hamilton's like, "Shut up, let me drive." Basically,
you get that like he's not used to. I mean, it's a newer race engineer, yeah. So you know
he doesn't have Bono. So.
Yeah, but you know. And that's a chemistry thing, really, that needs to be worked out. But he probably just doesn't need all the information they're giving him. But it's always just kind of funny, like he's like, it's kind of like Kimi, not Kimi Antonelli though, Kimi Räikkönen, if you remember back, and he just like is like constantly annoyed with his engineer. So it feels a little similar to this, but we'll see how that relationship develops over the season and if they can kind of get that chemistry going, because that's obviously important.
Yeah,
to have that relationship between your driver and your race engineer.
Yeah, and then later we see another crash. Fernando Alonso, not a rookie.
No.
Yeah,
that one was another one. Honestly, just lost it. And
it seems the track is just really slippery.
Yeah, and we saw we'll skip to this now because we also saw Piastri sliding off into the grass, and Norris as well losing traction and sliding a bit. Norris was able to catch it, but Piastri went way off into the grass.
Yeah.
And then it's just you see these good drivers making mistakes. Even Verstappen, when he made a little mistake, we saw Leclerc spinning and making a mistake. Very good drivers and rookies and very experienced drivers, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, making mistakes and having crashes or seriously hindering their race.
Yeah.
So that really just shows you how difficult it was at this track in these conditions, because it was just like chaos.
It was chaos. I mean, there was also times where just the rain was like juking these teams out, where for tire strategies, and it was like weird because I think Ferrari got the worst of it, where they changed to I think it was the hard compounds. They changed to slicks basically, and then it just started raining again, or it became more wet again.
Yeah.
And then so they had to go back to the inter. So like
everyone kind of ended up switching tires
but
at
it was
Alonso's crash, but then they all had to go back.
There was like 4 safety cars in different places. So I think Ferrari got the most screwed over, but obviously a lot of teams did too.
This is true.
It was weird for that, and there were still people sliding everywhere. Like
definitely,
Yuki Tsunoda was in P5 for a while, and he slipped. Oh, he caught it, but he went down to P11, essentially like derailing his race. So it was insane that all these like rookies and experienced drivers, they all like were having trouble during this race specifically.
Yeah. We also saw more rookies crashing. We saw Liam Lawson, and Gabriel Bortoleto crashing. This was a sad race. Because Lawson was like, yes, he started from the pit lane, but he was like in 16th, 17th.
Then you struggled to like get past Ocon.
Yeah,
and the way he got past Ocon, he like slipped his way in front too.
Yeah,
so
it was sad. It was very sad.
Very.
It's not a great first performance from him at Red Bull.
No, and especially that high stakes seat.
Yeah. But one of the most exciting parts I think of this race was the fight between Norris and Verstappen right at the end of the race. This is of course, very exciting because this is likely going to be our championship fight. The two of them were very, very close. Norris barely was able to stay ahead of Verstappen, but it was a very, very close, very tight race between the two of them. It's very interesting again just to see the McLaren versus the Red Bull, Norris versus Verstappen, likely going to be our championship fight. May or may not be for sure for the drivers, maybe for the constructors. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that was I think the most interesting part, just to see the comparison. They were very, very close in terms of performance, I think.
Yeah, it was really good, and I think it's just gearing up to be a very exciting season. We got a bunch of new rookies. We got Norris catching up to Verstappen and for fighting.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be really fun, I think.
Yeah.
So getting into the finishing order, obviously we see Lando Norris P1. He won the race, so there was this. Verstappen had this streak where he was leading the championship for I think it was over 1,300 days. That's like insane.
Yeah.
Because that just shows how great Max Verstappen is, and now we just see someone else, another constructor, make the better car. And obviously we saw that rocket ship of Red Bulls in 2022.
Yeah.
But now we just see McLaren and these other teams catching up and surpassing Red Bull. So like this, and also the skill of Lando Norris too, increasing too.
Yeah.
It creates a bigger fight for Max Verstappen. So that is very insane that the streak ended. But now we see Lando Norris leading the Drivers' Championship for the first time.
We also see George Russell in third place. And then there was a little bit of switcheroo that happened, right, after the race. Originally, Antonelli had a 5-second penalty. This was later repealed. And so this pushed Albon back to P5, Antonelli to P4. Both of these performances, though, either way, very impressive.
Really impressive, yeah.
Kimi Antonelli, first race, P4, best of the rookies for sure.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the better drives of the race.
Yeah.
This was really, really impressive for his first race. I know a lot of us, including myself, lost a lot of confidence or faith in him.
Especially when he was testing. Well,
Yeah.
he was driving in the practice session
At
Monza last year,
and he crashed the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so there was a lot of concern, a lot of worry, and then he pulls this, and it was really impressive.
I mean, Toto Wolff had a lot of faith in Antonelli when signing him for the next season. Like he could have brought in Bottas again, could have brought in like a more experienced driver like Carlos Sainz too.
Yeah.
But he put his faith in Antonelli, and it seems to be paying off so far.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's too soon to tell,
Definitely.
but he's looking really good out there, especially in this wet race. That's really good for him.
We also see, again, Albon in 5th place. Very good from the Williams. Of course, we only saw one Williams finish. 6 DNFs in this race total. It's impressive. But, very good first race for Williams, picking up some really solid points in 5th place.
Yeah.
And also a really good show of their performance.
And then we see Mr. Lance Stroll, P6.
Yeah.
He just stuck his way in there, I think.
Yeah.
With all the 6 DNFs and all the things that happened, he just, drove his race, got there. P6.
Also, Nico Hulkenberg getting some good points for stake in 7th place. Points for stake. How often do we get to say that?
I think, did he score more points? Or did he score the same or more points than last year?
I think it's about the same.
Yeah, so. Insane for them, but looking better.
Yeah, and like you said, Ferrari kind of seeing the worst of the strategy calls. With Leclerc in 8th, Hamilton in 10th, and then Piastri splitting them in 9th.
Where he did a good comeback. I mean, a safety car helped him come back, but still.
Yeah, he was able to claw his way back.
Yeah.
After going off, Gasly just right outside the points. Same with Tsunoda after a good qualifying. That's unfortunate for them. And then Ocon and Behrman finishing off. Those who finished.
Well, the second rookie, Behrman, just finished essentially last because everyone else DNF'd. So, we got one rookie doing really well and then one just finishing the race. So.
Yeah, but still, especially good for Antonelli. But at the end of the day, you know what? Behrman finished. That's more than a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, especially since how he's struggling last year in Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
The way he was spinning everywhere.
Yeah.
But this is really good for him actually finishing a wet race without actually crashing. So, yeah.
All right, well, now I want to share with you guys our predictions. I realize it is after the first race, but
we also don't need an entire episode for it either. So
we're just going to throw it in here. We're going to start with constructors. For me, I have McLaren coming out on top. I think we all see this one coming. Yeah. And then Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, and then 5th place is Racing Bulls.
Okay.
It's a little bold. Alpine 6th, Williams 7th, and then Aston Martin, Stake, and Haas in last place.
So for me, I think it's pretty good predictions, but I think I went bolder.
Okay.
So I did McLaren first, obviously, Ferrari second, Mercedes third, Red Bull fourth,
Okay.
Williams fifth.
Williams.
Okay,
Wow.
so like think about that.
That is
for a
bold.
second. All right, Racing Bull sixth, Aston Martin in seventh, Alpine in eighth, Stake at ninth, Haas in 10th.
Yeah, you got a lot of faith in Williams. Though.
I think so because our boy Logan Sargent needs to be avenged. So Williams will bring it. They need to prove that they fired the right guy and hired the right man.
We'll see. Yeah.
Carlos Sainz, he's gonna bring it. Albon, I think he's gonna do it too.
Okay.
So they got experienced drivers on their side.
Yeah.
And I think they have a better car too. So
We'll see.
I think they got it. It's pretty good. Unless Albon becomes one of the world's destructors, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. All right, we'll see. Moving to drivers, then. I think we're thinking the same things here, but we both have, I think, Norris coming out on top.
Yes, I think so. I think this is his year.
I think so. After this first race, he looks good.
He looks really good. I think he's out for blood now.
Yeah. So I got Norris in first, Verstappen in second, and then Leclerc behind them in third.
Oh, I had Piastri in third. So interesting enough.
Yeah.
I think Piastri is gonna improve even more. I think.
Yeah. But then I have Piastri fourth.
So I have Leclerc in fourth. So we switched.
Yeah.
All right.
Hamilton fifth.
So I had Russell in fifth.
This one's a little iffy because I don't really know if Hamilton's gonna be as good as I think he is.
I put Russell in fifth. I think because he's now the first driver at Mercedes, I think he's gonna have the more confidence. He's gonna have to be better, and Mercedes seems to be better too. So.
Well, I think we flipped Russell and Hamilton again because I have Russell sixth.
Yeah. So I have Hamilton sixth.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both had Antonelli in seventh.
Antonelli seventh.
I think he's pretty good. I think he's pretty good. Yeah.
And then I have Gasly in P8.
Oh, I have Tsunoda in P8.
Looking at Tsunoda's a bold choice.
I think Tsunoda is gonna do good.
I don't know. Looking at Gasly's performance last year, especially towards the end of the season, like he was good. And yes, this first race he didn't look quite as good.
Gasly down in 11th. I think the Alpine's slow.
I don't think
they're fast. They're not good.
But I think he's got a shot. And then I have Carlos Sainz in 9th.
So I have Albon in 9th.
Oh.
So his teammate in 9th place.
I have Albon further down.
Oh, further down, eh? I think Albon's gonna be better. I'm just gonna be doing these maverick picks here, so they're gonna be better, right?
I also have Tsunoda in 10th.
So I have Sainz in 10th.
Yeah, I just don't think Tsunoda's gonna be. I don't think the Racing Bulls are gonna be that fast.
Yeah, but like, yeah. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I think the Racing Bulls will be fine.
It's a very good explanation.
You put the Racing Bulls in 5th. I don't want to hear it,
like
though. They're gonna be fast. They'll be fine.
Okay. Right? Then we see. I have Albon in 11th.
I have Gasly in 11th.
Yeah. See, I just think Albon is not gonna be quite as good as Carlos.
I don't have the
Sainz.
faith in Gasly as much. So we just have the opposites here.
And then Hülkenberg 12th.
Yeah, me too.
We saw Hülkenberg do some really good drives towards the end of the season and even the middle last season. So I'm hoping to see more of that. Alonso, I have 13th.
I have Hodger in 13th. Okay, so there's another move here too. He was so close to winning that F2 championship last year.
Yeah.
So, he stalled at the start of his F2, the final race of the F2 championship, which decided it.
Yeah.
And wait, Bortoleto won it, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so it was Bortoleto. I think Hadjar has what it takes, and especially since I think the Racing Bulls are going to be decent, I think he's going to have a shot at getting pretty good. So I think in 13th, I think it's pretty good for him. So, like, middle of the pack, but, like, not great.
That's why I put Alonso there, because that's kind of how I feel about Alonso.
Yeah, but I feel like Alonso's going to fall farther, so that's why I put him at 14th.
Okay. I have Stroll 14th.
So I have Stroll in 15th.
Yeah, I mean, we know Stroll is not always the best, but at the same time...
He's not the worst either.
So, he just kind of drives his race. And then,
and then just sometimes crashes stupid. He just does stupid things sometimes, but then he just drives his race. So.
Yeah. And then I have Hadjar down in 15th.
Okay.
I think he'll be good, but not that good. I would say the best of the rookies besides Antonelli.
But okay, so what thing is you put Racing Bulls so high, but
because
but then you can't just have Hadjar so low either. So like that's the thing.
The thing is though is that Gasly's gonna, Tsunoda's gonna like bring Racing Bulls up, and then the thing that's gonna bring Alpine down, in my opinion, is Doohan, because Doohan's gonna score like 0 points. Is my prediction.
I put Doohan. I spelled Dothan in P20, so I couldn't even spell his
name.
I
have Doohan last as well. So I don't know, but
I think he's easily the worst of the rookies.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
And then I realize this is kind of far down.
Lawson in 16th.
Yeah, me too. We realize this is far down. let's be honest with ourselves. Is Lawson gonna stay with our Red Bull? I don't think so.
That's why I think, I think if they replace someone, it's gonna be with Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, that's why I have him higher too on the list.
I don't think he's gonna stick around.
I don't think so either. But hopefully he sticks around for a little bit so that he can prove himself.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We know Red Bull's not the most tolerant.
Yeah. And then I have Bortoletto in 17th.
Me too.
Behrman in 18th.
Yeah.
Ocon in 19th.
Yeah.
And obviously Jack Doohan in 20. So Haas is slow.
Yes, we know that. We always know
slow,
that. But
so.
yeah. I think we just know, like, Ocon in the past has been kind of a whiny pants. And also, he's not, like, that good. He's, like, fine, honestly. My opinion of Ocon is he's, like, he's nothing special.
He's sometimes good.
Yeah, randomly.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, like, I think he's like a Lance Stroll.
Yeah, he's very much a Lance Stroll,
Yeah,
just in a worse car.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But, and Behrman, I think, will do very slightly better than him. We saw him get a couple points finishes last season.
But the Haas is not fast.
Yeah.
So, the Haas was decent last year. That's why he probably got the points finishes.
The Haas was, like, okay.
But it was better than this year.
Yeah.
So, like, still.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us on this episode of Paddock and Track.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys for the next one.
Goodbye.